Going live, patting my hair, even though I feel like I'm in a top that's like 10 times too big. I don't know why and how I bought that, but I certainly did end up with it. Okay, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering. I talked a lot about religion. What I'm going to talk about today is not so much religion, but it kind of ties in. Okay, do all those YouTubey things. Hit like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know when I'm jumping on, because I'm kind of like a frog on ADHD. I'm hopping around all the time, and I'm not necessarily coming on here exactly the same time every day or even giving anybody any notifications. These are just my opinions, and don't bully anybody. Don't be rude and nasty. And we're fine with that. So why am I hopping on this morning? Why am I so agitated? Hey, Karma Kid, the beer virus and Costa Rica. The first week of June, Costa Rica stopped doing any kind of, like any kind of measuring of COVID cases. Hey, Shelley, they stopped altogether. They just said, okay, we're done. And they stopped doing it until this week. I don't know what happened. I suspect what happened is the World Health Organization probably got onto them and said, hey, you need to really be watching your COVID cases. You need to take a look at this. And they did. Why would they do that? Oh, flying. Okay. Flying monk. Laura, you welcome. So they didn't collect any cases all the time. And I was very suspicious of that because COVID is here. It's not a COVID-free place. And I'm seeing warnings from the State Department about coming here and various things, and not just us, a lot of other places. So this morning when I discovered they'd finally started keeping track of the COVID cases again, and was like, okay. I had to go in and out. I wasn't like, it is bizarre. Sometimes it does that. Sometimes won't even show me the chat. I mean, something will be going on. It won't show me the chat at all, bossy. So the cases on Thursday were 85,000 in a single day. So I'm not sure if they're playing catch up and they're counting all the cases from before or not, but the case count is super high. The only reason I found out is my husband started saying this morning, are you coming to church with me? Are you coming to church with me? Are you coming to church with me? And I was like, and CR, yeah. And I was like, let me check the COVID rates, even though I know 6 weeks ago they quit tracking them. Why would they quit tracking them? Because Costa Rica is extremely tourist dependent, extremely, more than anything else. And anything that interrupts the flow of the tourists, like on Dune, they can't interrupt the flow of the spice. Well, here's the tourists. And the first lockdown did a huge number on tourism. We were locked down from March 2020 to November for some. And then they didn't even really require us to get out until like a year later in March. So tourism died during that time. I saw so many places here in Tama close. You could walk down the middle of the street in Tama. Instead of it being bumper to bumper, there was no traffic whatsoever. It was eerie. It was eerie. It was not kind of nice to not have tourists because the wildlife came back big time. But then they reopened the tourism, and it has been go, go, go ever since. Americans are flooding here and greater rates. I mean, we tried to rent a car to go. We're buying a car. We're getting ready to buy a new car. Man, this top is way bigger than I ever dreamed. We're buying a new car. We needed to rent a car to get to the dealership to buy this damn thing tomorrow or Wednesday. I work at ED for a hospital in California, still getting many cases. Last week, a suspected, oh my goodness, the results were not in when I saw it. Oh my goodness. So the rates are crazy high here. But tourism has restarted, and I think that is why we had 6 weeks. Yeah. Shelley, I figured out that's what you were doing. Yeah. Doing a coder, not being a nurse. 6 weeks ago, they quit tracking cases. And then, like I said, I'm pretty sure that World Health Organization had something to say about that. They stopped tracking because of tourism. Tourism is huge here. We went to rent a car to be able to get down the dealership in Liberia by ourselves to buy our car in a few days, either tomorrow or Tuesday. And the rates had doubled. And we had to ask why, because we have been going to the same car dealership for a car rental place for ages. We have friends there. They give us a good rate. And they said, well, we can't give you a good rate right now because it's tourist high season. I was like, how is it high season? High season here is November to April. Anything beyond those borders is usually pretty low season. Now we get a tiny bounce and a few more people among the US bargain hunters around June, July, August. So you have a few more people, but not a tremendous amount. Most people come here realize that that rainy season here is miserable. It can be miserable. So they're coming. They're coming like crazy. Um, crazy, crazy, crazy. And we have every hotel is full. Instead of this time of the year, you usually put out signs saying stuff like special rate, blah, 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 free breakfast. Not this year. Everything is in. So there was no low point, there was no bounce down. So we're not enjoying much. We're not even going to the beach anymore. The beach is too damn crowded. So beer virus is very high here where I live. Lion monk, Laura, it was high in the States when I was there. I went nowhere. I went to Walmart with my mask on, and that was about it. And sitting here ordering things from Amazon like crazy to deliver to the house because the rates are so incredibly high. So they're high everywhere now, and everybody's trying to pretend it's not a thing. Nobody's masking. I'm frightened. I'm fully vaccinated and boosted. But I also have mast cells, so I don't go anywhere. No, Shelley, neither one of us have had it. Knock on wood, knock on Guanacaste wood. But at the same time, I may have had it early on. My daughter showed up that February, right before the world went into lockdown, and she was sick with some kind of upper respiratory thing that she said would not let her taste anything. And she laid on my couch. We didn't do a lot when she was here that week. She rested a whole lot. She laid on the couch. She laid on the bed in my sewing room where I have her old quilt and her old Afghan. And we went out at night and got stuff to eat. Right after she left, I got sick. Couldn't taste anything. Sick, 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 sick for 3 or 4 days up in the bed. I don't even have memory of those days. My fever was real high, and finally I just shook it off. And like her, I had to go to the doctor and get a Z-Pack to make that happen. So I'm now wondering if we had it early on. Jim did not. So we weren't even tested. They weren't even testing anybody there. So I don't know. I don't know if we've had it or not. I had the antibody test and said I did not have antibodies, but that's not indicative of anything. Could have been. So the world has gone crazy, and it seems like every American every ridiculous American is coming here. There's less chance of that here than a lot of places. But back a couple of months ago, they put a law in place saying that any restaurant, any hotel, anything like that could refuse to allow you in if you didn't have a vaccination card. And then they dropped all requirements to have a vaccination card to be here. The minute they dropped that, it's just things went haywire again here. So this has been like the craziest time. Like I said, actually started writing a book about moving to Costa Rica, and then when COVID hit, it changed everything. Everything's changed. I think they're hoping for the herd immunity by allowing concerts and huge public gatherings, cruises. Yeah, I guess that's what they're doing at this point, Shelley, but I am not happy with that at all because if I catch it, I know I have a higher risk of something really crazy happening. So I'm still avoiding it. He went to church. I stayed home. I've been mostly staying home from church anyway because, okay, here I'm going to religious talk. Most of the people that I know at the church he's going to are anti mask, they are anti vaccination. They have this crazy magical thinking where they think they can't get it. Some of them have died. We have had people from that church catch it, have horrible things happen, yet they still don't believe that this is a real thing. I shudder to think what will happen when monkeypox hits here. I'm not a hypochondriac at all, but I was wondering if I have MP. These bug bites and some of them just bleed. I don't even notice. I see lines on dried blood. Bossy. Um, Go get tested. Yeah, go get tested for bleeding disorder, okay, of some sort, because that's what I finally had to have happen. And I have von Wilburns, bleed like a stuck pig frequently from stupid things, but go to the ER. I would do that. I've had it 3 times. Yes, I'm vaccinated, but I take high levels of immunosuppressants for autoimmune. The first time it almost killed. The next 2 times, I just wish it killed me. So sick. Oh, thank you, girl. I'm so sorry to hear that. I take immunosuppressant therapy too, and so far I've been able to avoid it. I wonder if they're also thinking of the rate as it mutates and seems to be mutating less dangerously. They want to spread it further. That could be. I also read the other day that it is mutating much faster than the ability to keep up with boosters. That doesn't surprise me either. I'm wondering if we're going to end up with a situation like influenza where everybody just goes and gets vaccinated every year. I always get my flu shots. I make sure I stamp on my vaccinations because catching something is a whole different ball game when you have an immune system disorder, a whole different ball game. I have had whooping cough multiple times, even though I am fully vaccinated against it. Hermes mom, I'm okay. It's not the greatest day. I'm still having issues with maintaining blood sugar up enough and being able to sleep at night. So we'll see. The flu is way up in the ED2. Shelley, I was wondering about that because I know a lot of people have just quit considering the flu and quit getting their flu vaccinations. And I don't get it because there's a lot of flu. I'm sitting outside a lot, so I thought maybe, yeah. Bossy, the thing with that's the only thing that I think is a saving grace here is many of the things that we do here are outside. Most of the fun things are outside. So I don't see people, people aren't getting it outside. People aren't getting it on the beach. They're not getting it ziplining through the jungle. They're not getting it hiking up a volcano. So that's the one saving grace. The problem for me is if I'm going to the bank, there they are. If I'm going to church, there they are. It's the enclosed spaces where people are that you have to worry. I worried about the airport. I worried about flying back. I didn't worry about flying to the US because when I flew, they still were requiring you to get the COVID test within 24 hours of flying to prove you didn't have COVID. And I'm not even sure I wore my mask on the plane because a plane full of people who just got tested is probably the safest place you can be. So I'm staying home. I haven't been anywhere, and that's the function of not having a working car. We have a jalopy. I don't like running it. And we're not running it to Liberia. I am just not doing that. So we're going to be buying a new car, and I'm really excited about that. Everybody's been giving me their opinions on which one I should get. I had to laugh on Twitter. Somebody told me I should get a Mercedes because they have good deals right now, Mercedes. I would love to buy a Mercedes, but I have got to I've got to go with what's practical here. I take the monkey trail up if I'm going up to Cocoa. through the mud and the flood and through a couple of rivers. I take the back trail from Tamarindo, which is not paved and does have a river to ford. I take the other back trail into Tamarindo, which is also not paved. So we take a fair amount of unpaved roads here. So it's got to be an SUV, and there's got to be some, it would be preferable if they had some kind of four-wheel drive. The problem we're having is we're having the same supply issues here for anything that is American made or any car. Cars are a problem. We called yesterday to see who had what. The Hyundai had one that we wanted. The Toyota dealership had one that we were kind of considering, we didn't really want, and Nissan had like 6 or 7. So it looks like it's going to be a Nissan, I'm pretty sure. And the thing with buying cars here is you can buy used cars, but there are no protection laws here like there are in the States. There are no lemon laws, so they can roll back the odometer. They can do any number of things. And I've seen people get taken again and again and again. Don't do that. If you're coming here, ship your own car here, or when you get here, buy a brand spanking new one. But know that cars are 2 to 3 times more expensive here. They just are. It's a huge waiting list here too, and I'm in Detroit. Oh my God. Even for used cars. Yeah, it's kind of like that here too. So Toyota's has like a year waiting list for many of their models because we kind of like ruled them out right away and said, no, I don't want to even look at the American models. I did go look at Ford and I looked at Chevy and I didn't see anything that really I was thinking I wanted. The other problem here is you have to have a car that you can get parts for that's easy to fix here. Nissan, Toyota, Hyundai are 3 of the easier ones to get parts for and easier to get fixed. So that's what we're going with. Here to buy a new car can take 4 to 6 months to get it. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. I need one now. Our we had a Honda CRV that we had for years and years and years. The transmission died when I was in Arnall in May, or was it April still? It was far back there. And it's taken us to get to this point because of the travel, going here and there. I was at my kid's house for over a month. So we also had to wait for them to get some cars in stock because we were trying like crazy to order a Hyundai Tucson and was told it was not available whatsoever. So to get a new car here, you're going to be paying twice as much as in the States, and you're still going to be waiting most of the time. I'm actually more excited about a Nissan Kicks, as tiny as it is, because we just need something to zip around the area. We do not need a Toyota RAV4. I have an older car, and people constantly leave notes to buy it. The parts are easy to come by and cheap to repair. Laura, when I sold our Honda with a dead transmission, 19 years old, with 300,000 miles, I sold it for $2,000 here. When we first imported it 5 years ago, it was worth $15,000. So it's not worth a lot, all broken down, but the body's in good shape, the engine's in good shape. We've maintained the interior, so he's going to drop a $6,000 to $10,000 transmission in there and sell it for a pile of money. So cars are worth a ton of money here, ton of money. And I don't know, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. I'm just going to throw that out there. Between the viruses that we're dealing with and these supply chain issues, which is weird being here because anything from South America, Central America, China, or Europe is easy to come by. But most anything from the US or an auto is really hard to come by. My husband laughs at me because I will go into the store, the one store that carries Swiffer pads, and when they have them, I will come running out with a stack of them. And he's like, "Why are you buying 5 Swiffer pads?" Said, "Because I don't see them all the time and I use them quite frequently." We were looking at a Camry and Highlander. After I fell in love with a new Camry, he said 6 to 9 months. Oh, bossy, that's terrible. That is terrible. And people are extremely volatile. It is scaring the hell out of me, which is leads me into talking about that troll because so much volatility is going on. And I'm actually kind of almost scared for her right now. I'm going to explain why in a sec. I talked about this before when I flew back from the United States. I changed planes in Charlotte. I got to see a first officer, I don't know, crew member from the cockpit loses biscuits, loses his mind, and he came running off the plane about 30 minutes before it's supposed to load, cursing, flipping birds, cursing everything. And I was just like, what? Hey, T King. And then people started fighting because there was going to be a wait. And it was just nutty. It's very risky behavior pushing buttons the way she does. Yes, it is. So people are really volatile right now. And I don't know where it's going to end. I think that this virus has done a number on everybody's brains. I mean, even here we see crazy behavior now, and we rarely saw that kind of crazy behavior. Ticos are extremely laid back. Costa Rica has a saying, pura vida. It means pure life, but it also means take care, man, or hey, how you doing? It's used for all sorts of things. You might hang out with your friends, and at the end, instead of saying goodbye or hasta luego, be saying pura vida, man. May. A lot of them. So it's such a laid back lifestyle, but we're seeing Americans coming here. They're just losing their crap over the craziest things. I saw the last time I went out and had burgers at my favorite burger shack, the Surf Shack here. I saw Americans, a group of like 5 that kept sending their meals back and kept chewing kept chewing the people out in the restaurant. Well, I know everybody in that restaurant. The gal that's the waitress, I know her because she makes egg rolls on the side, and she lives near town. I see her out walking. Sometimes I'll give her a ride. I know the owner because I went to church with his wife for like forever and his kids. My late husband was Costa Rican, and we still have a house there. Oh, Karma Kid, you gotta come sometime. I think it's a long isolation and spending too much time on social media for socialization. Laura, that could well be because we know on Twitter everybody is crazy and it's a hot mess. I laugh at Twitter sometimes, but I gotta tell you, I block a lot of people on Twitter because sometimes it just gets too much, all the fighting and everything, which leads me back to the troll again. She took a step that I talked about just for hair yesterday, that today I'm getting more info on it. I'm just like, oh my gosh. She asked for a refund of the money that she had given to Marvon McRae's mother, Letitia. She demanded a refund from them, and they gave it to her. And Marvon's mother was kind of upset by that. Here's the thing. I was talking yesterday about giving people money, and that if you give people money, you just kind of have to release it, whether it's a loan or whatever. You just say, okay, I'm releasing this to the universe. If it comes back, great. If it doesn't, great. Yeah, it was disgusting, Karma Kid. So she did this. She wasn't woman enough to go to Letitia and say, hey, I want my money back because I feel like you scammed me. I feel like blah, blah, blah. I don't approve of what you're doing. I think you're a bunch of con artists. Whatever it was that really set KJ off. I think from what I was seeing, she was saying something about Letitia yelled at her. And I'm not surprised she yelled at her because KJ was straight up stalking Letitia and family. She asked for a refund, report the GoFundMe for fraud, and dox the grieving parents. That's exactly what she did, Laura. And it is disgusting, and just people don't do that. Yeah, she was making all kinds of claims about them scamming. Yet, not telling the GoFundMe people that she was doing stalking-like behavior. That she was calling, and when they would block her number, she would call from another number. Apparently, I didn't know this, but I'm not too surprised. Apparently, she has burner phones. No, I have burner phones here, but there's a reason for it at least. I have burner phones because when I go to the States, my iPhone with my Costa Rican chip doesn't work. And it just became easier to get a burner phone and keep refilling it every time we go to the States. Burner phones, and I'm not going to throw shade at anybody having most people throwing a burner phone because most people have a reason for it. I know people that have them, they have a work phone, they have, so it just, she got credit for donating, then her money back after. That's exactly what she did. Laura, thank you for my yarn fund. Thanks you so much. I bought so much yarn when I was in the States. I'm going to have to buy more when I go back. I think I'm going to have to go back soon. So she's very manic. She did a lot of crazy stuff. I think it's because you're right, Shelley. It's the court date. She needs to take at least a day off, maybe 2 or 3, maybe a week. Go on vacation. Go touch the grass, as they say. So now she's also trying to say that Molly Golightly issued her a death threat. And the others, and she called all of us that do YouTube channels that talk about her. She said we were all drunk. Girlfriend, I got to tell you, I wish I could drink. I wish I could be drunk again, but I can't. Some of the meds I'm on. I wonder if she's done that before, donating and getting refunded. Shelly, there's no way of knowing unless the person donated to actually says that, but I wouldn't doubt it. She's run a bunch of GoFundMe's and things that have been kind of, I do know that she always asks her people for donations. She says she's going to donate it for whatever cause. She will sometimes do a little small donation. So she's collecting other people's donations and she's passing them on and then taking the donation as a tax write-off, which you and I know that's just absolutely not right. Who does that? KJ does that. So her little stupids, and I will call them her little stupids, her followers, they fall for this. They give her lots of money for that altogether. She did a Ronald McDonald fundraiser that I don't think that she actually donated much of anything, if anything. I went inside for water so I could hear. Now couldn't write. She reported them for fraud. Yes, she reported them for fraud. And yeah, they are really stupid. She takes a lot of different things for tax credits. She's talked about her channel, which is bizarre because you can only take so much. There can't for businesses. And I know because I've done my own business taxes for many years now. I've always had some kind of small business side hustle going. And there are only so many things. And YouTube, being on YouTube, you can't take your makeup. You can't take your hairdos. You can't take your glasses. You can't take your clothing. There's so many things you can't take that she has talked about on her channel that she takes. She's already throwing shade saying, I'm going to get the IRS to look at you to people. Girlfriend, she needs to be careful that she's not having it happen to her. So the Molly Golightly death threat thing is really kind of bizarre because I haven't heard anyone actually issue a death threat to her yet, even the thing she claims. Here's what I'm thinking it might be. I don't know if Molly said this, but I know a bunch of other people said, I said it. I told a story the other day. Yeah. About when I was living in South Louisiana College, I was working at a real high-end jewelry store, a very high-end place. And one day we had people that came in and cased the place. Okay. They cased the joint. We could tell us what they were doing. We're all freaking out because this place had never been robbed. Turned out later that my boss had been paying protection to the mafia, and I had no idea at the time. And the guys casing the place suddenly disappeared. I don't know if they got killed, they ran off. But the reason I started thinking about that is because I'm reading a book by Ice-T. I know, Ice-T, how weird is that? It's actually a pretty good book, and it's the same time frame. He's talking about going into jewelry stores, pulling a hammer out and bashing in the cases and taking all the money, but not hurting anybody, telling the employees and stuff, stand back, I don't want you to get cut from the glass. So there was a lot of that going on back then because there was no video cameras. We're talking the late 70s, early 80s. No video cameras, no nothing. You show up, you bash a case, you grab, you run. And it was always places that carried high levels of Rolexes, like the place I worked. So I started thinking about it because in South Louisiana, it's not unheard of to have mob connections and all of that and to have people disappear. I started thinking about that with her because she's pissed off so many people. So many people. And I said this, people are crazy right now. People are just losing their damn minds over everything, like we're saying. And she's making all these accusations all the time and pissing people off. I would not be surprised if she doesn't end up with cement shoes somewhere. One day she's going to talk about the wrong person. Somebody is connected and something will happen. I mean, that's my projection. I've said that before, that I predicted that was going to happen because we're in such a weird time now with everybody so offended about every damn thing. And people might show up with a hammer and bash her head in. Something. Particularly since she's so easy to find and she doesn't go anywhere. She stays home 100% of the time. I don't think Toad is much of a protector. I don't know if they have anything like that here. You never know who people's friends are. Exactly. You just don't know. You don't know who's connected to an organization like the mafia who could come in and take you out in a heartbeat or make you disappear. You just don't know. I feel like that is what's going on with Molly Golightly. Bossy, I wonder about that too. Just from who she is and where she's from, I wondered about that. Maybe there's some connection there, but I don't want to say, hey, Molly Golightly has mob connections because I don't know that. She's now back on Anna Duggar, living in a warehouse that is not listed as residential. Leave that mother alone. Exactly, Sunshine's Nana. Exactly. 2 seconds on Google and you have her address. That's exactly right. So I'm actually afraid for her because she's saying so many ridiculous things. She's doing things like she called Dre McRae a Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which you do not do that. You don't do that to anybody. I've heard people do it to her and she's flipped out. So she's doing this thing that she knows is wrong, that she has stated many times is wrong, to make money off of it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. KJ has met her match. Oh, I'm not saying, yeah. She has met her match, Bossy. Exactly. That's what thing I like about Molly Golightly. She's not going to take it. Yeah, and she's not living like I'm living. Let me tell you something here, because I haven't talked about this much. I talked about it when I had a troll that was threatening me. I have a 12-foot concrete wall around my entire house. The top has glass embedded in it. There are motion detectors and cameras on the wall. There's an alarm system in the house. There's a camera system in the house. If you look closely, you can see there is a camera right. I'm moving backwards. Right there. That is a camera. There's a camera in every damn room of this house. There's a camera. There's no getting in easy without triggering something here. And this is pretty standard here because there's so much petty theft. You want to discourage that. She's got nothing. I'd be terrified. Exactly, Shelley. Exactly. Anything could happen. And that poor child of hers, that poor sick child of hers, and he is sick. I will agree with her on that. He does have some issues. I remember when he had to have open heart surgery when her and I were still friends. And she talked to me that entire day while he was in surgery. And I was pretty surprised by that because I kind of expected her to talk to her friends around there. But no, she chose me. And I thought at the time it was because I've dealt with having a child with rare illnesses. So he's sick. She's talked about before that he can eat a little bit, and the doctors wanted to try him without his tube feeding, and she refused that because she would lose benefits from the state of Minnesota. So I don't know how true the level of his sickness is, but I'm not going to speculate on that. I just know it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. It's just a terrible thing having to tube feed somebody. But at the same time, I'd like to see that little boy have more opportunities and go to school in a limited way or whatever way works for them. I don't like to see him kept in that dark house all the damn time. That's just not right. And everybody keeps calling social services because of that. And she manages to bamboozle her way out of it while calling social services on everybody else. Everybody else. Or getting her little stupids to call social services on everybody else. It's insane. It's insane. You can't keep up that level of mutually assured destruction forever. Something will happen eventually. Does she still have nurses? Karma Kid, I think she still does to some limited extent. I don't know. I don't know because I know that with this time we're in with COVID, monkeypox, and everything else, more and more people are leaving nursing. And I don't blame them because they're on the front lines of a massive thing that nobody is taking seriously. She doesn't mention them anymore, Karma Kid. You notice that? Which I think there's probably a minimal amount, if any, coming in. I also don't believe her claims of threats against Vaughn are against her. There may be a few against her. God knows there are enough people that are riled up about her. But I want you to notice that every single time that the heat gets on and she does bad, horrible things, everybody's going, bless my heart, that's terrible. Every time that happens, she claims that her child has been threatened. She claims death threats. This is her MO. I don't know why it's her MO. I don't know what's going on with her. But she has all these things she does that it just is every single time. I hope she's not getting SNAP because the poor kid doesn't eat. I don't think she's getting that. I don't think she's ever said anything about getting any kind of nutritional assistance, even though she may have. And so that's her go-to move. When the heat is on, she claims threats to Vaughn, and then she hauls out poor Vaughn and she starts talking about his illnesses and how sick he is and how everything breaks her heart and how he can't play outside or do any of those normal things. When she had the patio upgrade, and I was kind of surprised because it wasn't much of an upgrade, I just kind of laughed. I was like, we did more. We had my sidewalks put in so that I could walk out to my garden and garden without falling down because my balance is so crappy now. We're getting ready to put in a sunroom for myself after staying in my daughter's lovely sunroom. I'm like, I gotta have one of those. And so we're doing all that stuff. My kid is tube fed and we no longer have nurses. Laura, my kid and one of my grandkids were tube fed for a while, and we did not have nurses for that. I took over the tube feeding for my child. It was a very short period of time, thank God. I get the stress of being the parent of a medically fragile child. Yes, Laura, I do too, because I lived that lifestyle when my daughter was having problems with. She had ITP, killed off all her platelets. She struggled with that for a long time to maintain good platelets. She caught things like meningitis when she was immunocompromised. She struggled for years. She still struggles sometimes with shingles and other things. Her immune system is still not normal. She, like me, has had to take care of what she does and say, okay, I'm taking this period of time and I'm resting. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. She's much better now than she's ever been before because she's learned to rest in those periods of time and to take time off when it's bad. Oh, bossy. I just got up after like 11 hours sleep myself. She docks the layout of her house. I know. And I would love to take you guys all the way around my house, but I don't want to dox the layout of my house either. My 7-month-old granddaughter was born with MD and is on a feeding tube and permanent trach. We're lucky to have very good nurses. There's so many of us out there that have had children in our life that have had not great things wrong with them. I mean, things wrong with them that are hard to deal with. And I've talked about, because that's my daughter being that sick is what led me to join that Quiverful church. Because I was at a point where I had no support in my life. I was very depressed. I had a lot going on with my daughter, and they all came around me and supported me and were so loving and so wonderful to me that I joined the church. I started being around them all the time, and I was happy about it. My husband was not so happy. He wasn't 100% on board with it. He never got 100% on board with it. But that's how they caught me, and that's how I'm scared for others. Love bombing, the love bomb. They love bombed me so hard, it was crazy. How do you think things will go when the court dates start coming up? I don't know. I'm going to ask the magic 8 ball. I don't think it'll go well, but what do I know? It is decidedly so they won't go well. I really think that there's no telling. There is literally no telling. She's pushed back the hearings, and I think she probably used Vaughn as an excuse to push back the hearings. I don't know that for a fact, but knowing how she operates, I said earlier that she has patterns of stuff she does. She always repeats the same thing if it works, and sometimes if it doesn't work. But if she gets a benefit from it, she will repeat her thing. And I want you to look at her behavior compared to a narcissist and see what you think. I think she has some things that line up pretty hard with that, and other stuff. Maybe antisocial personality disorder, something like that. Because people don't act like this. They don't try to exploit others for money unless there's something seriously missing in here. Your heart, your brain, your soul. I mean, really, she knows she will lose the 7M case. She's so out of touch with her. I think she's so out of touch, she thinks she's going to win it, that she thinks she's going to keep spinning and doing all that. I mean, look at what she did with Graham Cracker last year when she sent us all letters stating, or emails stating, that we were now on notice, that we had to stop talking about her, and we had to keep any correspondence with her. That was really one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's the money she isn't getting for herself. It's all going to attorneys. That is one thing, Shelley, that makes me laugh as this goes on. She brought this on herself. If she had apologized and left these people alone hey, Susan, when they first came after her, or like touting her for cease and desist, we wouldn't be where we are here today. But if she had a heart, she would have done that. She would have. She digs more holes with her big mouth. Yes, exactly. She's just giving them. I mean, her behavior during the Marvon McRae thing, all she's done is give her enemies more ammo. That's all. Hey, Big Mama. She's given her enemies. Yeah, I guess it is afternoon where in the States and various places. She's given them more ammo. And I don't think that's a smart move. I think she should have just done like Tati Westbrook. If you noticed, when Tati got into her first squabble with Clark Swanson, and Clark Swanson contacted KJ and gave her all that information to disseminate, and then she turned around and sued KJ, she shut up. She got offline. She didn't update her videos. Once in a great while, She shut down and she shut up until things were resolved. KJ needs to do that. I feel bad for her. Her address is on Reddit. Susanna, pray it doesn't get in the wrong hands. Praying for Vaughn. Susan, we were just talking about that before you came in. The fact that she has shown the layout of her house many times. That is not the only place her address is available. Her address is all over the internet. She's made no attempt to hide where she is at all. I think that she keeps talking crap about everybody. At some point, she's going to run across somebody who's not going to take it, who will show up on her lawn and exact vengeance, whether that's by hiring somebody that to do that or them themselves. I think it's a very dangerous thing, particularly right now in America when everybody is just agitated and on edge and saying and doing so many crazy things. I think only a small part of KJ's need is the money. I think she needs the attention. Laura, I think so. I think it's hey Patricia, welcome. I think the money is not it. I think it's the attention. I think the attention is the main thing. Why do I say that? Because I knew her at Pathos. I listened to her endlessly talk about how upset she was that Dale McGowan, our editor, did not compliment her, yet he complimented the friendly atheist. He complimented Andrew Hall. He complimented any number of people. And she cried and cried and cried about that on my shoulder. And I told her at the time, I said, well, I'm sorry, and just left it at that. Well, I'm thinking, girl, why do you need compliments? I don't need compliments. I do what I do because I have a passionate burning in me to make sure that nobody falls for the kind of church I was in. I feel like my entire career. Oh, thank you so much, Susan. I'm gonna use that for yarn. It's going in my yarn fund. I don't need compliments like that. Just knowing what I'm doing is helping one person is enough. It's enough. It's enough. So I just never got that. I never got her need for a degree. And I would just say, I'm sorry, even though I was thinking, and I've said this about writing for Pathos. It was like a friendly competition. There weren't a lot of nice and cuddly people in our non-religious sector. We were highly competitive with each other because the game is eyeballs on the page. Not everybody had passion for what they were doing for other reasons. Some it was financial, some it was like her. They wanted the strokes. But it was like a grumpy and competitive thing all the time. And she just never got that. She wanted to be beloved. She didn't participate in the back channels where we talked about the issues. She never participated in any of that. You know, I used to do some moderating for Pathos. She didn't participate in anything. She didn't volunteer. She didn't step up. She just was wanting the strokes. She didn't want to do any work, not at all. And she couldn't see that to help out Pathos would help yourself out, because the more you were helping out, the more hopefully Pathos would gain reputation for how things were done there and the whole 9 yards. And it was just not at all what she was into. She scrubbed the internet of her DUI mugshot, but leaves her Addie on there. She's not very bright. I'm just explaining why she's not very bright about Pathos, because she couldn't see the big picture. She just saw me right in the center of it, which is kind of stupid, because you really want to help out and help your company. And I wonder if that's affected her at work. Help your company move forward. I've always had that kind of mindset. Sounds familiar and so unsurprising. Many people don't see the common good and just want the dollars. Why do I think she still has a following? I think because of COVID. I think COVID really drove her following. Now, she started doing these videos pre-COVID, but COVID is where she took off. People stuck at home. people who maybe aren't that smart to begin with, because I really think that her fan base is not very smart people, because they can't put together what's going on. And that's how she got so popular. I really think so. Let's explain how she was good enough to be a writer. Makes no sense. Amy, okay. I don't know if she approached Pathos or they approached her. But at the time, even though she wasn't a great writer, she had a unique point of view. Her blog, Without a Crystal Ball, was all about taking care of her son with his various health problems, taking care of him without the benefit of church. She talked about her bad experiences with her evangelical church, how they didn't help her. So she talked about that, and she talked about her child and what she did with him and demystified a lot of things. That's what Pathos wanted. That's what they hired her to do at Pathos. And she did for a tiny bit of time, but she didn't get the hits, the hit numbers that she wanted to get paid. She joined Pathos after Pathos had been bought out by BeliefNet out of Virginia Beach. Before we were owned by Time Warner, and we got paid way differently. We got paid much more. When she joined, the hit numbers were down, the pay was down. So she started there after she left the church. Yes, Bossy, not while she was at church, but after she left the church. She came onto my section, the non-religious section, and I was asked to keep an eye out for her and to help her and I was asked to do that a number of times at Pathos. And basically what happened is a person would be introduced to me and say, hey, yeah, I'll help you out if any problems. And I might get one or two questions, maybe. A lot of times, no questions. The person went zoom and took off. She was constant questions, constant help, constant complaining about. I'd say 85% of what she talked to me about was complaining about various people, Pathos and elsewhere. She changed her content quickly once she realized that she wasn't going to get the hit numbers to make the money she wanted. She changed the content from life with a chronically ill child without religion to, at first, it was going after Jillian Epperly and using the clips from Dr. Phil on YouTube to go after and to write articles. She moved on to the free birth community. She went after mothers. Anytime there was a news article or anything about a mother having issues with a child and legal backlash, she went after it. She went after the anti-vax movement. She went after the free birth movement. She went after so many people, it was retarded. I hate to use the R word because it was stupid, I should say. I'm sorry, I shouldn't ever use the R word, but it was stupid. What she went after. She would only go after topics that she knew she could make hit numbers. The only time I ever saw her participate in the back channels, she came up there and said, oh, I'm making thousands of dollars every month. And those of us that knew what the hit ratios were and who was making what were like behind her back, because we all knew that was not happening. No integrity whatsoever. You're right. And you run from people like that in the workplace. And I would sometimes block her because I would just get stressed out. Shortly before I met her, I had a TIA, a small stroke. And I had to do some adjusting in my life at that point. I had to blood pressure meds. I had to do a bunch of things. And it was hard. I'm just going to throw that out there. Anytime you have any kind of injury to your brain, it's at least a 6-month recovery time where you feel what I'm trying to think of that girl's name is. Somebody that I really liked. She starred Veronica Mars. I can't think of the girl. She's a woman now, I should say. But anyway, she said a brain injury is a fatigue beyond fatigue. And I'll stand up for that. That it's a fatigue beyond fatigue when you get that kind of tired all the time. Kristen Bell, yes, she had some kind of brain injury. And she was talking about that, and it's true. It just zaps you. So I would get zapped and have my moments, and I would just block her for a while, and she'd immediately come back on a new profile, a new not YouTube, Facebook profile, and come right after me again. Well, once she started doing YouTube, and I was like, yeah, fine, go do your YouTube. And she left Pathos. She shared with me a pile of correspondence between her and Phil Fox at Pathos. They were nasty. They were calling each other names and throwing all kinds of aspersions and things at each other. And it was just vile. And she left and they scrubbed her. They scrubbed most of her content off of the server, which I'll do that after you leave, but not for a long time. I left like 2 years ago and they scrubbed a little bit of mine, but not much. Some things that were rather controversial are gone now. And that's okay. I don't care. It's been long enough. So that's where I was when I met her, and why I would block her every now and then. She would just stress me out with her questions and with her demands and with her constant complaining. And I regret the day that I introduced her to the Duggars and I started talking about the Duggars, because a lot of things that I told her in confidence that I knew from people in the area, she's used it as content. She's still using this content. She's using all of that. She used my story of leaving my church, joining and leaving, as her own in one video. She hasn't done it over and over, but she's done it a few times. She has plagiarized my writing at Pathos. She has no integrity whatsoever. So her little stupids eat that up. They eat up her breathless style. I'm not going to say reporting. Her breathless style is yammering out BS. I'm just going to call it what it is. And I'm really shocked that she hasn't had more lawsuits against her, because so many people really have, I think, pretty good lawsuits material against her. You know, I thought about suing her because of plagiarizing, but I ended up not doing it because I talked to my Costa Rican attorney. I talked to my U.S. attorney, and there's not going to be anything left once the 7M lawsuit is done, or when the Todd Chrisley one is done, I think. And she has been promising vengeance on anybody that talked to Todd Chrisley. Well, I talked to Todd Chrisley. I told him about my experiences with her at Pathos and what happened with her at Pathos. I don't hide that. So we all laughed at her when her attorney, Mr. Graham Cracker, sent us all those emails demanding correspondence. And I had to say, no, that is not happening, because the correspondence that he was after, she deleted everything that we had ever talked about. She deleted all of her profiles on Facebook that I had talked to her about. Oh, I'm sure he is. And he's making note of everything to bring up in court. I feel very strongly that that's what he's doing. And I think that's a smart thing to do. TC is a lot of things. Todd Chrisley is a lot of things. Stupid is not one of them. He seems to be a decent guy. Now, about this class action lawsuit mess, I don't believe that'll ever happen. But she was demanding all these. The only correspondence I still have with her is freely available online. It's on my old personal blog. I put up all the crap she said about Sherelle, which I read the other night here. I put up all the crap she said about Steve, and I put up all the general crap she said, because it was pretty bad. It's constantly running other people down and making claims about them. She claimed that Steve sent her death threats. She said that Steve had exposed his penis to her, all kinds of just crazy stuff. At one point in the conversation, she was saying some crap about Steve, and I said, Steve who? Because she had said so many different things about so many different people. I wasn't even 100% sure who she was talking about at that point. And I didn't know Sherelle from a hole in the wall. I never watched her. I didn't know what YouTube drama was. I didn't know any of that. I had a YouTube channel, and I'd made exactly 2 videos on it because I was having some issues with a blogger named Larry Solomon of Biblical Gender Roles. who is a whole different ball game of awful. If you ever want to go to biblical gender roles and take a read, you'll be shocked. I would not suggest you going to his biblical sex site. It is just awful. His ideas about more than one wife at a time, about keeping your wife in line by using finances, by withholding medication. It's just bad. He even said at one point, if your wife tries to withhold sex from you, to force her to have sex, but don't look at her weeping face while you're doing it, because you'll be sinning if you look at her weeping, rebellious face. So those are the only two videos I had, because somebody had slipped. This is the only time I've ever doxed anybody. And it's bad and awful, but let me tell you, I did it for the common good that time. Somebody slipped me who Larry Solomon really was. And I heard some of these speculations reported on them many times that No Longer Quivering about this one or that one was saying Larry Solomon, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if it's true or not. But anyway, it was not an extreme doxing. It was like a first name or something. Well, this person was right on the money. They had everything. And I have that info now. I'm hanging on to it in case I ever need it. So Larry started threatening to sue me as a result. But instead of doing like she does, I handled myself very differently. I put the information up on a late Friday afternoon, knowing that nobody was there. It stayed up until Monday morning, until Patheos contacted me and said, hey, you got to take this down. This guy's threatening to sue. I took it down immediately, but the damage was done. Everybody had already seen it and downloaded it. Everybody knew who he was, and it really was him. I think the most surprising thing about the Larry Solomon reveal is that he was so incredibly average in every way. He lived in a teeny tiny little house in Michigan. He had a giant beer belly, like my husband does. He was losing his hair. He wasn't any kind of like superior alpha male at all. I was really shocked seeing that. So I made 2 videos explaining to him that go ahead and sue, but you're not going to get anything, and you have to. It's a little bit different than suing me in the States. So those are my 2 videos that I had before all this mess. Once she stood me up, and that was the other set of conversations I have that I've kept. Once she stood me up on a day when I was super sick with my mast cell and I was having a double med to be able to go and do a video with her, I was over her. Yeah. Stopped when I realized the Tati stuff was real. Oh, yeah, Shelly. And she tends to go real life. She goes real life and says lots of untrue stuff about people. That's the scary thing. She's pushing misinformation as if it were the real stuff. So anyway, long story short, that was the point where I fell out with her. She told her subscribers that she had talked to me and we were cool. We still haven't talked. I reached out to her one time on Twitter and said, hey, let's end this. This is stupid. And she attacked me. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no coming back from that. You used my content. You've attacked me. You lied about me. You're telling everybody I'm insane and I'm your stalker. I've taken no stalkerly actions like you have. She's unable to find anything on me. I don't have a record. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm just done with her. I talk about her every now and then. I hate it. I feel like I do when I eat way too much food and I'm just like sick afterwards. I feel that way every time I talk about her. It's just a gross feeling, like I need to scrub my brain with bleach. But she pulls shenanigans like this, getting a refund on that, and treats people like dirt after trying to cozy up to them, and just coming up with so much lawsuits and criminal records and things. It's just gross. I'm doing okay. Backwoods Barbie jumped all over me for making a comment about My Bird June. I blocked her on Instagram. Angela Barrett, she has a tendency to do that. You know, I used to kind of like her a little bit, and then she lost her damn mind, and I don't have anything to do with her as a result. Why don't people she lies about strike her channel? First of all, I think it's kind of hard to do that, and it's kind of hard to prove some of the things. Yeah, so I think it's hard to strike her. I tried to strike her for the video where she used my story almost word for word, and I never heard back from YouTube. They just said there was no proof anything like that had happened. And I was frustrated by that. So that's why I think the YouTube system and the way she scoots around the rules is pretty amazing that she actually still has a channel. So Nancy, you must feel like you need a shower after being around her. I need more than a shower. I feel like I need to wash my mouth out with tequila and then drink some of it. And I can't drink because the meds I'm on. So that becomes a problem. That's what's so funny about her. Oh, her dirty deleting is crazy. That's what's so funny about some of the things she said recently. She accused all the YouTubers talking about her of being drunk. I'm not drunk. Look, I got Coca Light in here. I'm taking my daily caffeine to wake up. But I'm not drunk. Even if my lyrica makes me strange, I'm not drunk. I can't watch Backwoods Barbie because she's whining for money. Number one fan, that's why I quit watching her too. YouTube needs to come out with a strong anti-dox policy and enforce it consistently. She'd be in trouble if that happened. Absolutely. They also need to have more of a path for those of us who've been plagiarized to go after somebody who's plagiarizing us. I canceled Backwoods Barbie months ago. She is nuts. Jan, something's going on there. I'll agree. Has anybody looked at her rapping video? That's actually kind of funny and fun at the same time. I have seen that a bunch of times. My husband and I have watched it and just laughed. We've laughed at the twerk and stuff. And it's like, girl, get it. You're twerking upside down. I can't do that. I can't even twerk at all. I don't have enough butt to twerk. I got gut, but no butt. So there we go. And, you know, YouTube has room for everybody, even Backwoods Barbie, but when you use your channel for evil, like she's done, like all the stuff she said about Marvon's family, that she's helping them, blah, blah, blah. And then the second they say, hey, you're overwhelming us, you're saying all the stuff that we never said. The minute they did that, out came all the allegations of criminal behavior and this and that and scamming. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why you would live your life like that at all. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go. This has been over an hour. This is odd for me. I'm just going to tell her something that a troll has said to me a bunch of times recently. Go outside and touch the damn grass. Go outside. I'm about to do it. I got plants that need repotting. I have a hot mess out there because I went away for a month and the house sitter that I hired didn't water some of my plants and overwatered some, and it is a mess out there now. So I have to deal with my potted plants now that the yard is good and the gardener's been here and things have been cleaned up. Now I got to clean up all my potted plants, and it's no fun. So I'm not going to be touching any grass, but I'm going to be touching a whole lot of leaves here shortly and roots. And there are things in this world. Have a hobby. Pick up a damn crochet needle and learn how to crochet. Take up gardening. There's a million things that you could do that are, take up something like skydiving. There's a million things you could do out there that are fun. Even if it's something just like watching movies. And I mean, so she needs to come up with something more to do with her life than spend her entire time online. She's starting to remind me of Truthfully Trish. Do you guys remember who Truthfully Trish is? I don't know if you know or not. She was on Dr. Phil. Truthfully Trish was this crazy woman Well, is this crazy woman that lives her entire life on live streams are like 9 and 10 hours long. Truthfully, Trish is her YouTube channel. She has faked an incredible number of things, including an anaphylactic reaction to black pepper, which I got angry when I saw that because I've had anaphylaxis so many times that I don't anymore, but I've had one a long time. But I used to run to the ER with an EpiPen hanging out of my leg every 2 to 3 times a week, at a point where I started to wonder if I was going to damage my heart with all that adrenaline. She faked one, and it was the craziest thing I ever seen. I was angry with her for it. So she spends all day online. She's lost her husband. Children have turned against her. She went from being an average looking housewife to being a plastic surgery, bleach blonde looking freak. And she's still spending all of her time online on YouTube, doing hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of streams. My word. Okay, I really am going to go this time. Love you guys. Take care. Go outside and touch the grass like KJ. Like, I'm going to go touch leaves. I mean, I'm looking out there. I got to sweep all the walkways. I'm not looking forward to that.